Bhattacharji, cyber technology expert. I'm going to request all our guests to start making their way to the stage, please. Shri Suvimal Bhattacharji, cyber technology expert. Ms. Meghna Bal, Director, SR Center and Advisor, Koan. Shri KJ Alphonse, former Union Minister and Advocate. And Shri Kartikeya Sharma, Rajya Sabha MP. Our last conversation for the day revolves around artificial intelligence. Is it a threat to governance, politics and judiciary? It will be moderated by Mr. Rishabh Gulati, Editor-in-Chief of NewsX.
Hello, I'm Karthik. Nice to meet you. So please.
Thank you.
Congrats.
No, please sit wherever you find.
Anyway. That's the norm.
Yes, sir. There you go, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, can I get my mic working? Thank you very much. All right, it's been a marathon day. We've done 21 sessions. We've had 22 members of parliament. We've had sitting judges of the Supreme Court. We've had the law minister. And here we are to have a specific question. And it's a privilege not only to have one of the members of the Rajya Sabha, who's of course the founder of this network, who serves in the parliamentary committee that deals with this subject, but also the person who's been a former union minister under the subject would have come, and it's a brand new subject to talk about. Let me start with Kartikeya ji to just get a perspective on this. Kartikeya ji, about 2 months ago, there was a case reported that somebody used a deep fake of Sunil Bharti Mittal trying to convince his own company employees to start transferring funds in Dubai. Just 2 weeks ago, this is a case from England where deepfake videos of Elon Musk have been used in a Bitcoin scam. We are now talking about millions of dollars where if you get a video call and it looks like your CEO and your chairman is on the video call and he's asking you to quickly transfer funds, and sometimes the employee will just do it. It's becoming that scary. Are we ready for this world, sir?
Rishabh, I'd just say the genie's out of the bottle, and it's very difficult to quantify or pontify how it will evolve. I think it was at the second Law and Constitution dialogue where Justice Suryakant spoke about the perils and the dangers of AI if it were not regulated and if the issues were not addressed exactly a year ago. So, because I sit on the IT committee and this is an issue which has come up before us, what I can definitely say is that, we really need to have a framework to address this issue. It's an evolutionary space that we are in. There has been legislation which has been made. The European Union Parliament has just recently done that. But it has not been coherent and it has not been done in the same systematic way everywhere. And because of the nature of the product and the impact it has, it is very, very difficult to understand and quantify how it will impact each and every aspect that it touches. So, a lot of discourse, discussion, debate needs to be done before we can actually start getting to that point where we can regulate and bring it into a framework. Yes, to answer your question, without regulation, we're going to face some very serious challenges.
Okay, KJ Alphonse, 2017, we have an individual called Jordan Peters. He made that first Barack Obama deepfake video, which released on YouTube. And he said, listen, I can do it. It just took me a few months to do it. Today, with a simple GPU, freely available software, you can use HeyGen on the internet, taking videos from the internet. You can not only recreate the voice, you can recreate the face speaking that voice. It's already here, sir. We have to catch up. How do we catch up?
I don't think is it audible? Let me take a very radical stand. I think the human species is already finished. We don't exist anymore. The fact that we human race, species, is today dependent on your mobile, on the social media platforms for truth, and for our responses, and for our emotions. I think the human species is already finished. It's dead. What can we retrieve out of it? Things are going to get worse. Today, you tell me if the human species is there, he's supposed to use his intelligence. Today, with the kind of dependence we have on the social media that everybody has, not only the kids, are we thinking? Are we reacting emotionally the way we should, rationally? We are not. Now, with the AI coming in, things are going to get much worse. Can we regulate? I don't really think so, because the way technology is evolving, I don't really think anybody can cope up with regulations and bring in regulations anticipating what's going to happen. Because the kind of development that's going to happen is so quick that before we can even respond to it, things are going to change. It's like I got COVID 5 times. And I asked my doctor, why is it that I've taken all the vaccination? He said, no, this is a different variant. You are vaccinated against the other one. The same thing is going to happen here. You're going to have a regulation coming in, and within a few weeks, that regulation is not going to, is incapable of taking care of the new technology which is going to happen within weeks, not even years. Earlier it was decades, then it came years, now it's going to be weeks in which new technology is going to come. And in any case, my view is the human species is dead. I made a statement in the parliament to the Minister for Environment. I said there's an Oxford study which says that the human species will be extinct in the next 100 years. And a very mischievous question, will the government expedite the process? And the minister, of course, said yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I was in school when the movie The Matrix came out, but let me get Meghna in on this. Meghna, how real is this? Is it because in India, somebody faking a video of Narayan Murthy, okay, and saying that, you know, invest in this scam. These scams are real. That's happening right now. Now, we are coming to term, we were having a discussion on digital arrests, where people call you and they say, I'm calling from crime bureau, okay, you are about to be sent to prison unless you give us money and do this, do that. This is a world we are tackling with. What happens when it sounds like the actual commissioner of police is calling you?
First of all, I'm not sure whether the recipient would know what the actual commissioner of police would sound like, but let's get empirics into it, right? Because all policy decisions should be evidence-based. And the evidence around deepfakes is that people do not find them any more convincing than other forms of misinformation. In fact, there's this wide study that was done by Harvard researchers of 5,000 respondents. They don't find it any more convincing than other textual or audio misinformation that is not AI-based. And a lot of it, and their inclination to believe it kind of attenuates with their political beliefs. So that's one consideration. The other consideration is that when you look at the last general election in India, there was a huge concern that deepfakes were going to take over. But when, you know, the forensics came out, it emerged that it only accounted for about 1% of misinformation. And the other, I mean, what I'm getting to is that there is this belief that deepfakes are inherently bad or inherently illegal, but they have a lot of benign uses as well. I mean, the technology can be used for cancer research. It's used by NGOs to, you know, get their messages out to a wider audience. So, for instance, an NGO in the UK used it to make David Beckham speak in multiple languages. You know, there's an app called MugLife where you can animate pictures. So it has a lot of benign use cases. The problem is that there's this perception that it is inherently bad, but it isn't. And that is, and if you're talking about deepfakes, again, you're not talking about a novel harm, right? You're talking about misinformation and disinformation. And if you look at technology longitudinally, you can't look at deepfakes just as a new avatar of misinformation without considering the history of misinformation.
So misinformation is going to happen whether people are forging letterheads and signatures or they're forging videos. But does it become a lot more difficult? Are you as cynical on this, Mr. Bhattacharjee, that we are in a lot of trouble and we don't even know it yet?
Well, we are. Is it working? Thank you. Well, we are in trouble, but we are not in that level of trouble that possibly it's made out to be. Artificial intelligence is not something that came when ChatGPT came. It was there for more than 30, 40 years. Myself, as a student of mathematics, 30 years back, I have studied artificial intelligence. The problem started when the generative AI started coming in the scenario, and it could do a lot of things that possibly we thought wouldn't be possible in the period of time that it has come in the horizon. The large language models, the huge amounts of data that we have and the processing of the data, the algorithms, the biases that they carry, all of that have created a scenario where the scope for misuse and going to do things that possibly could challenge mankind arises. So it's a question of the time that we will have to legislate, we will have to bring the society to those levels of
No, but
understanding.
what the question then is for the people who are going to be part of the legislature, one of them is sitting with you. What is the legislation? How do we legislate? Do you say that these websites, do they have to be watermarked? What can you come up with that somebody within a couple of hours can't get around?
I think there are attempts already being made, and as Mr. Sharma mentioned about the European Union's ratification by the countries is just now happening, and then it should be in place. But to come more to your point, I think even if you look at India, when we don't have a specific artificial intelligence legislation, but if you look at the provisions of the Data Protection Act, or even if you go back to the IT Act of 2000, we would have ways and means to look at AI because it is fundamentally dealing with data. A large concept if you look at it.
AI is a different thing because as we speak, one of India's largest news agencies has just sued ChatGPT for copyright infringement because it takes all their content and then spits it out without giving them credit. So that's a whole different conversation. But before I get the MPs back, let me get Meghna back in. Meghna, do I own my own face and voice once I upload videos on the internet? Does Barack Obama still own them? Does Elon Musk still own them? Can you impersonate someone? Is that legal?
Yeah, so Indian courts are very clear on personality rights. And it's also, an infringement of your privacy right, on your voice, on your likeness, on the reproduction of your likeness. There was a case involving Anil Kapoor, but earlier cases as well on this. So it's very clear that personality rights are a no-go area. And if you go on ChatGPT and you ask it to generate an image of a public personality, it refuses to do so. You were talking about regulation, so let's talk about it from a standpoint of watermarking, which is something the European Union has put out. Watermarking is extremely ineffective when it comes to deepfakes because it can be manipulated really easily. Detection is the other kind of technological solution. Again, not very future-proof because it's becomes harder and harder. Basically how deepfakes work is that there is a generator and a detector, and the whole point of the deepfake is to fool the detector. So you have a technology where detection is, basically set up to fail. So the point is that I don't think we should hard code these things because the European Union has come out with an act that lacks proportionality as well as granularity. There are a lot of loopholes in it. At the same time, it over-regulates. I think what we need to do is we need to continue to prompt larger companies to think innovatively about how they can mitigate the harms of their products. At the same time, as we've seen, there was a sting by India Today last year that showed that a lot of the deepfake production is actually happening offline, where there are these agencies that are soliciting politicians and other kinds of public personalities to engage with them so that they can generate deepfakes of the opposition, etc. So I think forensics need to get into it.
So it's forensics, but now we receive the other because now no matter what you hear or what you see, the person just says, "Oh, this is an AI deepfake," or "This my voice doesn't exist." But Kartikeji, the sort of trend in governance in India on these deeply technical matters, often in the past, has been what the Europeans are doing and what the Americans are doing. How do we carve our own path?
I think we've come out of that mindset. We are not following suit as we used to. And I think that's a welcome change in the mindset of the lawmakers in our country. And because every situation, every country is very different. In this particular matter, I don't think technology per se is bad. The intent to use it is bad or good. So for instance, you can use AI in medicine for development and betterment of medicine. And you can also use it for biological terrorism. Now, what do you put it to use at? That is the question, because AI, to me as a layman, unlike the others on this panel, for me it's the power, the computing power, coupled with categorized and readable data. When you merge the two, anything is possible. Now, where do you stop? The problem is, so as a regulation has to basically play the role of what not to do and what is bad for us, or what could possibly or plausibly be bad for us. That is what we need to focus on. And if we can, and there's no right or wrong answer for it, it's work in progress. And we have to evolve as we go along. As a matter of fact, as an independent member of parliament, I have written, and I'm actually putting together a small proposal where I think we should institute a committee of future affairs in this country, because that's something that we are, we are at the same disadvantage
This
or
would be a
advantage.
parliamentary committee of future affairs.
Absolutely, why not? I mean, that's what the need of the hour is, because we are confronted with the problems that the rest of the world is also seeing at the same time. They don't have any tacit advantage over us. Now we need to sort of get ahead of the curve and understand how does it affect us, especially in the adversarial manner.
Okay,
and if we can quantify that, that will at least solve a big part of the problem, if not the whole problem.
Okay, so you and I, often talk about data darkness, all right? So are you getting inputs from industry, the best of the best, the guys who know how to do this, that this is what's happening, this is what the problem is, this is how deep it is, this is the number of cases?
So, Rishabh, no one controls AI and its evolution, and no one can. It's impossible to do so. So you have to get ahead of it and curate it. That's your best shot at being able to try and get the regulation in which will not adversely affect people, their fundamental rights, and any transgression that happens. So, I mean, we have to understand there's no right or wrong, black or white. We have to just try and understand how the medium is evolving, get ahead of the curve, and try and safeguard the fundamental rights and the fundamental premise that the law and our constitution grants to each and every individual.
Okay, let me be less dystopian, Mr. Alphonse, because the same was said when the hydrogen bomb was built, that that's the end of humanity. We went through when we first got connected to the internet and viruses became smarter than antivirus software. We've sort of gotten past that. We have survived it. We are more interconnected. All of us have a device in our pocket that's permanently connected. Who's listening to it all the time, whether it is the big tech companies or worse, we don't know. But is it necessarily a doomsday scenario?
Yeah, no, let me come to the positive part. Being a former IAS officer, if I had this AI technology or generative technology when I was a district collector of Kottayam, and incidentally Kottayam is the only zero poverty district in the country, I was a district collector there for 4 years, I could have done much bigger miracles as a district collector. And later, I was Commissioner of Delhi Development Authority. I would have functioned much more effectively if I had these present tools of the AI. Forget about generative AI, just AI, what exists today. I could have done a much better job of demolishing. I was a demolition man. As a member of parliament, as an independent MLA, I became an independent MLA. I could have used the tools so much more effectively to deliver health care, education, so many things in my constituency. If I had these tools when I was the MLA, just about 15 years back, as tourism minister of India, I could have just sold India so much better if I had these tools. So there is so much of positivism in this, but the problem really is the human race is destructive. Our mind is an anarchy, it's in our DNA, it's in we are a wicked species. There is no other species on the face of the earth.
So are the machines taking over then?
Pardon?
Will the machines take over then?
Of course the machine is taken over, that's what I was saying. It's taken over, it's going to get worse. Today, every decision that we take basically depends on the social media and your self-esteem, what you think you are. Can you talk to young people about dreams? About what they want to do with their life? They say, what? What is a dream? You are living in some other world? I've just written a book saying the winning formula. No, and people are going to say, you are crazy. You're talking about dreams and making a difference with your life. These things don't come on my social media anymore. The biggest social media guy today, I think, YouTube guy, is a chap called Beast.
Yeah.
Beast has got 70 million followers.
Oh, it's 100 million plus now, sir.
What does the Beast convey? I really think, and a whole lot of people with 50 million, 100 million followers, it's all trash. And this is what.
Okay, but we've heard this before.
I'm sorry, but just to extend what sir is saying, we've not been able to regulate social media. It's been around for a while, and you're talking about AI. So it's not as simple as that. And you know, I mean, one of the jobs that will be in danger is also of journalists.
Yeah, true that. I mean, I can make a deep fake of myself and then go home. There'll be somebody else anchoring right now.
May I say
which
one
will
more
look like
word?
me.
I think we're just going to have complete anarchy. What's going to happen? You think our bank accounts are safe? We read every day 100 million passwords being stolen, and tomorrow it's going to be so much easier to steal anything under the sun.
Okay,
and
but
nothing. You will know nothing.
Okay, so the question is, we have to navigate this. I've seen these conversations that when we were young, we were told don't watch too much television. Now kids are doing doomsday scrolling. They just keep scrolling. So it's a different kind of problem. But let me take it to the root level, Mr. Bhattacharya. When you go to the police and you have one of these scams on which now Netflix series are being made, that these guys do fishing expeditions, and if they make 1,000 calls, so somebody will give them their OTP, or somebody will let them download an app that lets them take over their phone and do banking transactions. It's a zero priority for the police. They don't take it seriously. They make a note of it and hope maybe your bank reimburses you. It's not a policing priority. It doesn't seem to be a legislative priority because this is a well-known problem before we get into the deepfakes.
My phone was lost day for us today. My
Sir.
iPhone stolen. With all the IDs and everything, cops say when he switches it on, someday we will track it down.
Yeah, it's a truism, yes.
Well, what happens is, Rishabh, the police community across the country are already overwhelmed with the number of cases that come and the nature of the cases that come. And that is a much bigger worry. If you see the national portal for cybercrime reporting, 1930 and cybercrime.gov.in, on an average they got about 60 to 70,000 calls daily. So that would be possibly 1/10 of what actually is happening, because people don't report generally such kind of cyber crimes out of various reasons. Now, police themselves per se, as you said, they try to avoid or keep you away, and then they are already overwhelmed with the kind of things that are coming. So I think there is a massive
But has
awareness.
the cybercrime become easier? Because earlier, okay, if the guy had to sit and dial 100 numbers, now he has a bot, okay, that
yes.
tells you I'm TRAI and I'm about to block your phone.
Absolutely.
Press this button.
Absolutely. AI has become a force multiplier for cyber attacks and on the modules with which you do the kind of cyber attacks that are happening. So definitely that is there. But I think, we still don't have a doomsday scenario. I think it's a question of optimal management. We need to track when we go to the regulatory part, the computing speed at which things are going, where one day the machines might take over the speed at a high, at which the human brain processes, and two, all the different apps and possibilities that happen because your algorithms are getting so much more faster and sophisticated,
Yes,
and
but
all of
trust
that.
me, as a journalist, I live by YouTube algorithm and I fear it.
This on technology. Sorry, the human mind functions much lower
Okay,
speed
all right,
than...
all right. I have limited time because I have to
Technically,
let
no.
you guys go home and have dinner.
Fraud chat 4.0.
Yes, absolutely. So, but Meghna, as a person who literally researches this and works in this and deals with the stakeholders, how do you then educate those who have to eventually legislate? What do you provide them?
So I think Mr. Alphonse kind of touched on it. One is that there need to be widespread sensitization and awareness campaigns with the public. So it's a strategy of inoculation in a sense, where you're basically informing people that, it's typically not common practice, and companies have to do it as well. I mean, it's not only about people calling people and pretending to be, they're using their boss's voice. Even phishing emails are extremely effective, where someone pretends to be your boss and gets you to give them money. I mean, it happened to someone in my organization. We couldn't believe it, that she actually believed that someone else in the organization would ask her for 50,000 rupees over email, but she sent the money anyway. So that's what I'm saying, is that these things need to be considered holistically. AI is just a means. Yes, it definitely can be a false multiplier, but it's just a means to a certain type of harm. It's not that there are not other technological means as well. The biggest kind of way to safeguard against this is to inoculate, which is to inform the public, to make people more aware, and to sensitize them to the fact that, one, the police is not going to be, calling you and to arrest you on video chat. But I think the other side of that is, particularly in the context of these digital arrests, is that there needs to be a little more trust building between the public and these law enforcement institutions, right? Because I think there is a trust deficit there,
Okay.
which is what these scamsters are able to
all right.
leverage
So
and take
Mr.
advantage
Bhattacharya,
of.
Chaji, I'll leave the last word with you because earlier it was greed, right? They would tempt you that you won 10 lakh rupees. If you just give us this OTP, we'll transfer the money to your account. Now it's fear, all right? We've caught you. We're going to arrest your family. We'll arrest your son. We have some basic data about you, which we obviously gleaned from some fishing expedition. And you're now scared, right? You're scared, not maybe because you committed a crime, because you think that the agency can frame you nonetheless. And you're willing to pay up. So what awareness do we do here? When you get that call, what awareness can we do? How do you know? What do you do?
No, I think you have to understand very clearly that, a policeman is not going to come on a chat room and then call you to another room where someone changes his uniform or something like. I think that basic understanding has to be there, and I'm happy the government is doing some kind of a campaign also. However, Rishabh, I think, and we have the presence of a member of parliament, former minister, and a very credible bureaucrat, that we should look at getting the corporates to put a certain % of their advertisement budget into awareness building. I have told most of the banks and all that even if you put 2% of your advertisement budget in doing this awareness thing, it really helps.
Okay, all right. We have a practical solution. Yeah.
I think it's the solution's a lot simpler than that. You don't need to spend any money. We know that what are the gateways that people come through on, just the banks themselves. Every time a customer comes and logs in, they have to go through a gateway. If they only use that gateway to inform people, that itself will be very educative because their reach is so large. And if you say, let's say, someone like Google, you get them on board and say, this is the service that we want you to do, and many other platforms like Paytm and so on and so forth, reach is not a problem. It's their willingness to do it and actually dedicate a certain aspect of the inventory towards it. So they won't actually have to spend monies, they just have to use those gateways where everyone goes through those gateways on a regular basis anyway.
Okay, I know we are out of time on this conversation, but for all of those who've been watching at home, you'll have to think about it. This is why we're having the conversation, because it's become a serious issue. I remember looking at the Barack Obama deepfake 7 years ago and going, oh, this is interesting. In fact, this is actually pretty cool. And now understanding that people are losing money, that doesn't mean that what is representative. Yeah, go on, make a point.
Rishabh, one thing I want to add, we do have a safer double-step authentication system in India
than anywhere in the world.
Compared to anywhere else in the world.
The OTP, which we all love to
So
hate.
it's not that we've not regulated or we are not taking care. The problem is awareness. And ultimately, until unless it is addressed, people will keep on getting sick.
Yes, so
Can
please.
I tell you one
Last
thing
thought.
positive?
Yes,
People
last
are
thought.
trapped to share their, OTP, and that's the social engineering part is a big issue.
Mr.
I'll tell you the one positive thing. I lost my laptop from India International Center. The police put 15 cops on the job. I got my laptop within 6 hours. Otherwise, I had no backup. My book would have been gone. Within 6 hours, they traced it and amazing results.
So it is possible. So technically it is possible. It is possible to do these things, but it's a matter of getting it done in amongst a whole host of priorities. But be aware is where we're going to leave it on to, because this is now here. It might sound like your father's voice or mother's voice or your friend's voice. It may not be. So you have to think twice over. Karthikeya Sharma, KJ Alphonse, Mr. Bhattacharya, and of course Meghna Bal. Thank you very much. And thank you for this concluding session of the third Law and Constitution Dialogue on the eve of the 75th anniversary. Thank you and good night to all our viewers who've been watching this across 9 news channels and across 42 live streams all over the internet. Thank you very much for watching.